let's discuss this problem from homework. It's problem number 3, and I modified it slightly, but it may not look like your version anyway. Sorry, I meant to have +3 here. So essentially, we want to find the domain of the function f of x divided by g of x. As you can tell, the general idea is to make sure, first of all, your function f of x is well defined. Secondly, your function g of x is well defined. So you want to find the domain of both problems. The next thing, because you newly introduced a denominator here, so you want to make sure your denominator is not 0, otherwise you introduce some really serious issue here. So if you look at your function f of x here, it's a quadratic function, so its domain is -infinity through +infinity, which is pretty intuitive. The second part, I would have the same argument for this same quadratic function, which is g of x. The next problem is to make sure your g of x does not equal to 0, so you want to make sure x plus 4 times x plus 3 is not 0. In other words, x is not -4, x is not -3. So if you have combined all things together, your final answer is just to say, I can be any number, but I cannot be -4 and -3. Therefore, the domain of your function is what I've written here. A common question you may have is that you realize f of x divided by g of x could have been the simplified, which is something that looks like this. So you may say, why don't you just go ahead and cancel those two out, and therefore leave yourself as x minus 4 over x plus 4, and lead to the conclusion that only x plus 4 is not supposed to be 0, which means x is not supposed to be -4. So this is a common math practice, but whenever you do something like this, you add a statement, which is also what also needs to be true, is that x plus 3 is not 0. We've never told anyone to cancel a 0 term from numerator and denominator, right? So whenever you do something like this, you are openly admitting to the fact that I'm not canceling a 0. Therefore, x plus 3 is not supposed to be 0. So when you try to simplify the problem f of x over gx into x minus 4 over x plus 4, you are also admitting to the fact that I'm treating x plus 3 as not 0. So to summarize everything you just said here, you are going to say x plus 4 is not 0 because of the denominator, and then x plus 3 is not 0 because I did this cancellation, so I openly admit that x plus 3 is not supposed to be a 0, which otherwise I couldn't have simplified that. So you would get the exact same conclusion, which is just like what you had before, which is my final answer. So if you had done cancellation, you want to be very careful to add this extra comment in your discussion. So either way, you will get to the exact same conclusion. Hope this helps a little.